Okay, we're live.
This is the business culture of agriculture. My name is Andy Junkin, and with me tonight is Victor Cabrera from University of Wisconsin. He's with the extension team there, and he's the expert in North America on the decision support systems for the dairy industry. And Victor, tell us, what's your background? How did you get into decision support systems and this field of decision modeling?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Andy. My name again is Victor Cabrera. I'm originally from Peru, but I have been in the US for about 20 years. I did my master and PhD at the University of Florida. And after that, I spent a couple of years in New Mexico State University as a faculty there. And then I moved in 2008 to Wisconsin. I'm very happy here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I'm part of the dairy science department. And actually, my position is kind of special, I would say, different than many of my colleagues, because what I do is I try to connect the biology of the dairy production system with the economics. So basically, in order to do that, we need some kind of simulation modeling and to project what's going to happen under different situations. We have great resources in Wisconsin. Wisconsin is the dairy state. So many of my colleagues are well known, worldwide known about their research in reproduction, in genetics, in nutrition, etc. And so I do have a lot of material, data, resources, and people with whom I work to try to put that data into practical way for farmers and for practitioners, the consultants, the veterinarians, the nutritionists, to make better or best decisions at the farm level. So the idea, again, is to use this solid scientific research data from the biophysiological part of the dairy farm system and to put the economics into it, to see, for example, if improving the genetic component of the farm, it's going to make how much of a difference in the bottom line of the farmer. If changing the reproductive program, it's going to maybe require additional investment, but how much is going to be the bottom line at the end? Farmers, for example, know if they change a new improved reproductive program, let's say, and they do an investment, they will have a better reproductive performance. What they don't know is if that's gonna report or result at the end into a higher net return for the farmer. And so we are trying to do that for quite some time. And luckily, this position I was saying at the beginning, kind of special, connecting these two parts, has become very exciting, and it has had a lot of visibility. And luckily, there is a lot of people who are following this, and other universities that are trying to do the same thing. Still, the critical mass is not too big, but I think there is a lot whole work to learn and to keep improving in this area.
And I think the thing that really impresses me is, well, first of all, like, to clarify, you do projections going forward. You do, what if I do this, what will happen? That's essentially how your software works. It doesn't look at the farm's past data. You plug in information about your operation into the software modules, and then it predicts what will happen going forward. Is that correct, Victor?
It is correct, but not totally. Yes, we do projections, predictions, and based on the best scientific information we have, but also, as you mentioned, based on the actual current data of the farm. However, we try every time more to use what you say, the historical data as well. So if we know the past, we know the current situation of the farm, we may likely know better what would happen under different situations in the future for that specific farm. Actually, that's one of the hallmarks of our program is the fact that we can do projections at the farm specific level. One decision may not be general for all the farms. One thing could work better on one farm than in another farm. And therefore, all these decision support tools that we have been developing for the last 10 years or so actually require these parameters from the farm. So basically you are building your farm and you're doing projection on your own farm.
Yeah.
And I think the concept is powerful.
I think that's awesome. And I think for a lot of family farms, like for instance, reproduction, I had a farm and they milked 400 cows. It was up in Ontario, so the milk prices were a lot higher. And they realized that they had a 14% preg rate problem. And they realized that if they went to 21% a preg rate problem, it was well over $100,000 improvement in profitability. And once they plugged that, they figured that out, that changed everyone's behavior on the farm to paying attention to that problem. It wasn't just a problem that they just kind of shrugged their shoulders about. They became actively engaged in trying to fix that problem. But they sat down as a family and did that projection together. And so I think that, modeling software can be really powerful, and not just for you to be able to find opportunities to improve profitability, but also changing everybody on the farm's behavior so that you actually achieve those results. If they can see everybody on the family is involved in and plug in the numbers and they can see the results, then they can become actively engaged. And so that's why I'm a big fan of modeling software. What could you show us your website, share us with the screen, and show folks how to get to your resources and what kind of resources you have, Victor, because it's unbelievable. I was really blown away by how much even over the last I think it was 3-4 years ago when I was on your website, it's amazing how much you've added on there since that time. It's amazing how much stuff you have as tools. Show us what you have, your website's DairyMGT.Info. Is that not correct?
That's correct. So right now I'm gonna share my screen.
And I'm gonna be quiet so that you can just
talk away. I'm gonna type so everyone can see this. DairyMGT.Info is the address, very simple to remember. If you Google it, you just put Dairy Management Wisconsin, this should be the first hit in Google. So this is the main screen, and I try to put tweets here on the right side using some kind of social media to try to keep update of what's going on in our small lab. And I mean a small lab, we have like normally 4 or 5 students, 2-3 technical people, maybe sometimes some interns, some postdocs and things like that. So this small team works with me on developing these tools and of course apply research and trying to get outside information that would be useful for the producer. So this is the website, this is the main screen, but what I would like to do is to give you a very brief tour of this website that I think it has resources that should or could be very useful to the farming community in general, specifically for the dairy farmers. So one area I would like to call your attention is the publications. So here you would have a long list of journal articles, for example. Many of them will have their links to the actual papers. But if you are more apt to looking into the extension publications, you will have here a number of abstracts, for example, from proceedings of different meetings that you may want to look. Some of those would be short papers, and many of these will have also presentations added to it. And we try to keep up as we are developing and producing this. We try to put this together here, and they are openly available to anyone who would like to use them. The other section I would like to call your attention is the presentations here. And well, we divided this in different type of audiences, basically on where the presentation or to which public the presentation was addressed. But you can look here, for example, in the Wisconsin audience or the international audience, you will have here a long list of presentations, and many of these presentations, in addition to the PowerPoint or PDF documents, they will have papers and other documentation associated. So I would like to invite you to stop by, explore this website that may have interesting and important resource from the informational standpoint of view. But actually, the part that's the hallmark of this website is the section of the tools, and you can get to the tools by the link on top of the page right here. I'm trying to point, or you can just click on this figure here that's on the middle of the page on the left side. So I just click there, and then it will open this tools section, which is a collection of a long list of decision support tools that hopefully can help you better manage the dairy farm. And these tools are divided in different sections according to the area of management on the dairy farm. We have the feeding and nutrition area, for example. We have the section of heifers, the section of reproduction. For example, here in reproduction, we have this tool that's called the economic value of a dairy cow. If I click here, this is the way every tool is going to look like. If you expand the title, you will have the actual tool, and you will have other documentation that is available together with the tool, and hopefully will help in the use of the tool. Actually, many of the tools will even have a video demonstration if you want to take a moment to look at it. Basically, between 5 and 10 minutes video demonstration that always is helpful before you want to use the tool. It's going to give you a good idea how the tool should or could be used and how you can take better advantage of the tool. And if we go down, we will have areas of genomics, production, replacement, even something in health, and at the end is financial and price risk. And we have also at the very end some environmental tools that could help in different specific farm situations. As I mentioned before, any one of these tools would be tailored custom to the user. The user can enter their own data, and so the decision will pertain to that specific user. Andy, I don't know if this is the time to do a short demonstration here, or I can get back to you and then we can come back to this.
No, you go ahead and give a demonstration of what, the tool. That'd be great.
So we were talking before this with Andy about some tools that are the most popular tools. And one of those is, for example, this that's called here the economic value of a dairy cow. And I can give you just a brief taste of how this tool looks like, okay? When you click in the tool, the system is gonna ask you for an email, so you can get registered into the system. Whenever there is an update or something pertaining to the tool, you may receive an email with that notification, but we will not do more than that. And then once you enter to the tool, in this case, for example, and we try to keep this consistent among tools, you will have a description of the tool, you have an overview, and we recommend you take a look to this. We provide some acknowledgement from where the funding sources helped to do this tool. But if we go directly to the actual tool, it would be in the next tabs. For example, this one, it says the single cow analysis. And one thing we try to do here is actually to keep the tool in one single screen, as you can see here. We have two blocks, the left side and the right side. And the left side is all input data. So basically here, you define your farm. And in this case, your cow, you want to do the analysis with or for. And then on the right side, immediately, in real time, you will have the answer. And we're going to go quickly about this. But before doing that, I want to just point you that this is an analysis that can be done for a cow, but in the same fashion, it can be done for the whole herd. And probably most of the farmers would like to do this after understanding well how this works, to enter the data of all the herd records at one point in time and do the analysis for all the cows so they can do better decisions at the herd level. Okay, but now I can give you a brief overview on how this works for each one of the cows. Okay, notice before I go further that this tool, and every time more, the tools are being translated to different languages. You understand it's not only a literal translation, because sometimes we need to do a few adjustments depending on where the tool will be used. Like, for example, here it can be used in Spanish, Czech, Italian, Slovak even. And then we can convert the units. US is the common, and that's what Wisconsin farmers, for example, use. But in many places, metric is more common, so that could be changed. And the currency also can be changed. But that's only at the very beginning. If we move down here and we see actually the tool, what this tool is doing, as the name says, is the economic value of a dairy cow. So basically, the idea is the following, very simple on a farm, and I'm pretty sure every dairy farmer, and probably more frequently than not, will be wondering what is the economic value of every single cow on the farm. And why? Because they need to make decisions based on those cows. They need to treat an animal, they need to breed an animal, and sometimes they have different resources that they could tailor to different animals. So, for example, if they need to treat an animal that's going to be an expensive treatment, they may want to know if really the animal is worth doing that investment. Or if they have different type of semen, the most valuable semen you want to give to the most valuable animals, or the other way around. Or also, what ultimately you will do with this tool is say, I have this number of animals, I'm having good reproduction, and I need to get rid of some animals because the housing capacity of this farm is only this size, right? You don't want to grow too big, or you don't want to go below your capacity, normal capacity. So you need to somehow manage the amount, the number of animals on the herd. That needs to do a lot with the reproduction, the on-herd production of replacements, but also with the decision of the farmer of more aggressively or not cull animals out of the herd. So in all those situations, you will need to know what's the value of each single animal on the herd, and which are the most valuable animals and which are the least valuable animals. Okay, so let me give you an example here, and let's go directly to the answer here. You see this number, $627. So this number here is the answer to these parameters on the left. What it's saying is that this animal that is in the third lactation is 5 months after calving, and she happens to be 1 month pregnant. Her value is $627. And so immediately we can do something like this. For example, we can say, what happens if this animal aborts right now? So I'm going to change the status of the pregnancy from 1 month pregnant to 0 months, which would mean she's not pregnant anymore. If I put 0 here, you will see that the value of this cow will decrease to $414 instead of $627 before. That means the value of this cow has decreased for that abortion of $213. Okay, so now this animal, because of the abortion as well, will be more likely to be culled because the chances of becoming pregnant will be lower now. And actually, if we start moving in the lactation, this cow, remember, is in third lactation, 5 months after calving and non-pregnant now. If this cow moves to the 6th month and still is not pregnant, her value will continue decreasing. Now it's 279. And if we keep doing this, let's go to, for example, the month 8, her value will be 64. And if we go one more, maybe this will become negative. Yes. So this cow is in third lactation, 9 months after coming, and she's not pregnant yet. Her value becomes negative. What is telling me this is that at this point in time, I should replace this animal. That way, I would assure that I will have the maximum economic benefit on the whole herd by bringing a new animal instead of this animal on the herd. So basically what it's telling me is, do not try to get pregnant this cow anymore. And maybe you want to recover some milk if she's producing enough or something like that. That's a different type of decision. But basically this cow at this point will be destined to leave the herd, and you would be much better off bringing a replacement at that point in time. Now, all the parameters below you can take and explore on your own. We're always available for questions, and the best way to communicate with me would be over email. But this is a small taste of what you can do with this tool. Basically, at the end, you will have a value of every single animal, and based on that, you can rank your animals. You can know which are the most valuable animals, and maybe you want to give a better treatment to those animals, or better feed, or better semen, and you will have the lowest animals on the herd. And you can do that in a very standard, in a very organized, and in a very systematic way to improve the performance of the whole herd.
So Victor, what are the most popular tools you have? What a lot of dairymen use? There's a lot of tools you have on this website. What are the most popular decisions that people make with what tools do they use? And for the producers back home listening to this, why don't you get your pen and paper out, and if you're interested.
Sure.
And
so thanks, Andy. I will go back and I will show again my screen. Okay, and we're back on the website here, and I'm gonna go to the section of the tools once again, and I'm gonna give you the most popular tools in the different areas of management. And I do know, if you remember at the beginning, when the first time you log in and look for a tool, it's gonna ask you for your email. So at that time, your computer will also get registered on the system. And then that allows me also to count the number of times tools are being used by whom as well. And so I know every month I do an analysis of which tools have been used more than other tools. And in the feeding section, for example, you have a number of tools here. I encourage you to explore on your own time. But the tool that is very popular here is the one that we call FeedVal. And I'm gonna quickly open this FeedVal. Basically what it does, it values different feeds so farmers can make better decisions of buying feeds. It's like you see here, like a matrix where you have a number of feeds, and actually the prices of these feeds are daily updated automatically in the system. So I can, for example, trust that the corn in the Midwest right now is $137 per ton. Okay, that's the price that appears there. And all these prices have been updated automatically in the system. But then once I have that, I can decide which are gonna be the referee feeds and which are gonna be the referee nutrients. I have those options here to select the different nutrients, and I have the option to check and uncheck the feeds that will become the referees. And once I do that, I'm using the default in this case, I just hit analyze, and you will see here, it's gonna give you the predicted price or predicted value of the feed based on the content of nutrients of that feed. Therefore, you will have those feeds with green, marked in green. Those would mean good purchases. And those in red would be overpriced feeds. maybe not a good idea to use or buy right now those feeds. We do an analysis of this every month, and we actually send like a mail alert saying which are the best feeds on that specific month. But the idea here is everyone can enter their own feeds, their own nutrient content on those feeds if they have analysis or other way to get that information, and their prices in the local situation, and they can do their analysis on their own in a similar fashion. Another tool that I'm gonna move on here is the one I just showed you before, the economic value of a dairy cow. But another tool that's very, very popular in the reproduction side is this one that we call Wisconsin Cornell, because it's in collaboration with the Cornell University, DairyRepro. I'm not going to be able to open this tool because it's a little more sophisticated. It requires installation on the computer. That takes only a couple of minutes, but it needs to be downloaded and installed. But I just want to tell you what this tool does. Basically, what it does is compares different reproductive programs. Farmers are all the time trying to have specific protocols of reproduction and improve the reproductive performance of the herd. And that requires more management, more investment, more hormones if there's synchronization, or more heat detection devices, for example, which are very widely common nowadays. And so this tool allows you to enter all these different investment options and management costs and labor costs as well, and also the potential or the actual performance of the reproduction on the farm, and the potential change you would have with the new investment. And it will give you at the end if it is worthwhile to do the investment or not, in addition to give you a lot of statistics of what you would expect is going to happen in each one of those situations. So that's another very important tool that I wanted to share with you. The other thing I will also share with you is this one in the genomic side, and I'm going to open this one. Actually, in order to use this tool that's called the integrated genomic testing for heifer calf decision, you need to create an account, because this tool will save your data internally. And in the case you have a connection with some of the databases that keep the genetic information, maybe the tool can retrieve that information directly. What this tool does, and I cannot log in at this point here, but what the tool does basically is give you the value of using genomic testing on heifer or calves on the farm.
Could you actually repeat that, Victor? You just cut out there, unfortunately, because of the internet. What does the tool do?
The tool gives you the value of using genomic tests on the calves on the farm.
Okay.
So this is, as many of you know, a new technology that's available to the farmers to do a genomic test on animals. The recommendation normally has been in very young animals, so you know that information for the rest of the life of the animal. That test costs nowadays between $40 and $45. Is once in a lifetime test. It could be a little expensive, like $40, but it can give you a lot of information, for example, to select the best animals you want to raise and not to raise all the animals. And that's basically what this tool gives you. It gives you an option to test the animals for genomic, do the genomic test. And if you do that, it gives you which animals should be pre-selected to do the genomic test. And then afterwards, it will give you which animals should be selected out of the herd and not to be raised, in order to have better net return at the very end.
Okay. So basically, Victor, you have the best programs you can, or the most popular programs in your on the website you put at the top of each category. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Basically, they appear there according to the time they were developed.
Okay, sounds good. I just didn't know if that was it. What's give us two more examples. We're running short of time here, Victor, but give us the other two programs that are most popular, and then we'll wrap it up here. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, there are other programs that are very popular, are very simple, but very good, for example, and I think they have a lot of potential. Like, for example, this milk curve fitter, we actually encourage farmers to know what the production levels they have on the farm. For example, this tool allows you to fit the data of the farm. Like, for example, in this figure, the red points are the actual data production that the farmer may have on the farm, and the blue line is what it would be a function that has been fitted based on the observed points. And why is this important? Because we can do different types of projections based on that. Like in this case, for example, once we have the parameters of the function on the right side here, I'm marking, we can actually graph a lactation curve, and we can know, for example, what's going to be the production from day 0 or day 1, I'm sorry, to day 3 or 5. For example, this is a standard lactation curve of day 1 to day 305. In this case, for these levels of production on this farm, that would mean 25,320 pounds of milk on that situation. And I can do assessments like, for example, what happened if, for example, this lactation curve will be more or less persistent. I can change these numbers based on other data that may or may not be available at the farm level, okay? So I can move, for example, here to the next tab, and I can change and move these parameters, and I can change the shape of the curve, and I can know how that's gonna impact my production level in different points in time. Why is this important? Because we do know that, for example, if we have an impact of a disease on the farm, that may affect the lactation curve from this point on, and we want to know the assessment of how much that impact would be. We can use this tool to actually find that out. We can also use this tool to find out what's going to be the average production during a lactation, depending on what's the day of the pregnancy, when the pregnancy happens, and depending on what's the fixed period of dry period for the cows, how much we would expect of production for that cow on that lactation.
Okay, and what's the one more tool, Victor? Then we're going to wrap this up. What do you use a lot? Do a lot on pregnancy prediction?
Pregnancy prediction.
Yeah. What? You have a really good decision modeling program for preg rates. Is that correct?
Yes. Because we can use like, for example, this tool here based on the previous one, that's gonna give us an estimate of what we would expect on the income over feed cost. So basically the difference of the milk income minus the feed cost during a lactation, depending on when the cow gets pregnant. If we enter these few parameters here, like the milk, feed, dry period, and gestation on top, and we define our lactation curve as in the previous case with our parameters, we can maximize here our income or feed cost, and it's gonna tell us for this specific situation, for example, if we get pregnant this cow 134 days, we will have the maximum income or feed cost during this lactation. Obviously, this would happen, as you can see here, this lactation curve is of a first lactation, and normally it's very persistent. Therefore, in some situations, it could make sense to delay a little bit the first or the time of pregnancy. But if we see exactly the same thing for a second lactation, for example, likely the lactation curve is going to be much less persistent. And if we do the same maximization, it's going to tell us the sooner we get the cow, the maximum would be the income or feed cost during that lactation. In this case, it's suggesting to be 34 days, but we do know that that's not practical on a farm, because normally we want some period of recovery after the calving. So normally, I mean, very common is a voluntary waiting period of 50 days. So basically what this telling you here is the sooner you can get the cow pregnant, the maximum would be the income over feed cost on that situation. So that could help in the decisions of management and reproductive programs, and along with other more sophisticated tools we have regarding reproduction in this website.
Okay. Well, Victor, I just want to thank you for coming on the program. I just, as a mediator, I would encourage every person out there that's watching this to write down 3 problems that you have and you're constantly having bickering and disagreements about within your family when it comes to production issues. So, for instance, well, you know the problems you have on your own farm. Write those things down, and I would encourage you on the next cold winter day to actually go to Victor's website at DairyMGT.Info. That's a really good resource. There's a lot of other extension agents that have spent a lot of time putting together modeling software, not to the level of Victor, but there's a lot of good tools out there. And I would search out and find if there's a tool that you can use on your farm and have all the family members sitting at the table at the same time as you're plugging in the information, and to be able to make better quality decisions as a family, not by yourself off in the corner, but together you plug in the information and then have a discussion on what is the best decision based on partially based on what the spreadsheet or the software tool says. Part of it, there's strategy involved that you just can't plug into a modeling software. But what I'm trying to convey is that if you can get your entire family involved in the process of plugging in data, then they're going to be receptive to what the software plugs back. If you're by yourself doing the homework by yourself and you come down from the mountain and say, I have the answer, most of the family members won't buy into it. But I feel that a lot of spreadsheets or software modeling tools that are provided by county extension agents or DairyManagement.Info, for instance, can be used to really quell a lot of family arguments and make better quality decisions that result in a more profitable operation as well as a happier place to be. And yeah. I really think that you do an awesome job, Victor. You're, as far as I can see, the wizard of putting together some really good tools. And so keep on doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate very much the opportunity. I completely agree with you with your latest statements. I think these tools could be an opportunity to get together as a family and make decisions together, everybody engaged. And I think that's gonna make a lot of good for the farm in general and for the family in general.
I would agree with you 100%. And Victor, could you again provide everybody your website information and how people can get a hold of you?
Sounds good. So can I share again my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so once again, this is my website. I will write, I think that's the way many people can remember, DairyMGT.Info. And when it appears right there, you will have my contact information in the first place, and you will have my email right there. So please, if you are using this and you have if you have any questions, you encounter any kind of problem, don't hesitate to contact me, and I will be glad to work with you on these tools and other information related to that.
That's awesome. Well, Victor, thanks very much for being on the program. Keep on doing what you're doing. You are the wizard. And my name's Andy Junkin, and this has been the Business Culture of Agriculture. We're on live stream television every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And you can get past episodes of the show at my website, agriculturestrategy.com, and it's on the second page. Again, with us tonight was Victor from DairyMGT.Info. My name is Andy Junkin, Agriculture Strategy. You take care and God bless.